Hi, and welcome back to Hot Off the Press, the show about new releases and the authors that bring them to you. I'm your host, Jim Nettles, and well, I'm already having to wrangle the cats this evening. So let's go around and see exactly who's in the alleyway tonight. So, Dennis, you're up first.
Hi, I'm Dennis M. Myers. I write science fiction in the far future. My first series, a four-book series, is available on Amazon right now. It's Rise of the Automated Empire. And my latest book is Secret of the Ombax, and that's also available on Amazon. And you can find me at automatedempire.com.
Ken?
I'm Ken Lange. I write LitRPG and dark science faction. Dark science.
It's past your bedtime, I know.
I know, man. I'm up late. So, yeah, dark science fiction. And you can find me on my website, kenlang.com, kenlangauthor.com.
Jenny?
Hi, I'm Gini Koch. I write the Alien Captain and Kitty Cat series, formerly for Doll Books and now for Gingerbread Publishing. I also write under a variety of other links and on all genres and under a bunch of different pen names.
Layla?
Hi, I'm Layla Dorine. I write LGBTQ fiction and romance, and I am here tonight with a whole lot of poly, a whole lot of shifters, and a whole lot of holiday fun.
And Alma?
Hi, I'm Alma Alexander, otherwise known as the Duchess of Fantasy, hence the headgear. I write fantasy in various shapes, forms, and sizes, and occasionally other things like science fiction or nonfiction or whatever the mood takes me. And I'm here with a book that dropped on the 4th of November, and it was an ambush book, so more about that later.
So, as we always start, looking at new releases, the first big question is always, what's the world we're falling into, right? What's the big world? What's the big setup? How do we, where are we going to be dropping our characters to basically play with them like cats and, torture them, knock them off the counters, knock them off the, have a lot of fun with them. So, Dennis, why don't we talk a little bit about the world we're falling into?
This world is, it's a first contact story. My automated empire is just at the very beginning, and this is the first contact that they've done, and they do it wrong. They came here with ample evidence that this was going to be an advanced civilization, and when they got here, they found that this civilization put bases on their moons. They were building a giant ring in orbit, and all of it was abandoned 4,000 years ago. And in the ruins of the civilization, these guys are living there. And they don't use technology. At one point, somebody tries to call them steampunk dinosaurs, and they get shut down, but the phrase is there and appropriate. So this is a bunch of mishaps and some soul searching. I had a lot of fun writing from the perspective of the aliens for a good chunk of the book, so you get to see their take on the world.
All right, Ken, let's dive a little bit deeper back into exile descendants in this world.
Basically, it's what happens if you were to wake up and the world operated on video game logic. And the apocalypse came at the same time. So, and I get to make fun of people's names and make them very, very filthy. All of our little aliens. And a whole lot of murder. So that's probably the best things about the books is that you get to kill a lot of people, get to blow up a lot of buildings, and I finally get rid of New Orleans. It sinks into my book, so that made me very happy once New Orleans was gone. As most people know, that I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the city I live in. So, but I was very happy about that. But yeah, it's just if the world operated on video game logic and dealing with a lot of human nature being humans and not necessarily being good to each other, and then having a bunch of aliens be a bunch of non-helpful people. It's a little too early to start cussing, I think. But yeah, they're just it's video game logic and people having a really bad day with a little bit of a sense of humor. And everybody needs a
Roll
nap.
for initiative.
Pretty much, and everybody needs a nap, including me. I had a bad night last night, so I'm sorry I'm not quite with it this evening.
So Jenny, I know we're back to the alien kitty cat world.
We are book 12, Alien in Chief, just released today. And the Alien, thank you, and the Alien Collection, which is all the collected Alien series, short stories, novellas, interviews, etc., went on pre-order yesterday, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But as we get on, but we're in Kitty's world again, and this time things have gotten very, very serious. Pretty much the mastermind who they've been dealing with. Well, they've been dealing with him the whole series, but they didn't realize he was there till book 7. The mastermind has finally been outed, and he's out for blood. Now that everybody knows, all his gloves are off, and either he's going down or Kitty is, and that's basically what's going on in Alien in Chief.
Layla, what's the world we're stepping into this time?
Well, I went with the extremes this year. My next 2 books coming out, one of them, Leo and Lace, takes place in a very snowy mountain cabin. It is a poly fated mate, 2 snow leopards and a human. And Six Stinger Stinging is an island Christmas, 2 sea turtles and a jellyfish, kind of meeting on the island of Guam where I grew up. And there are palm trees wrapped in lights that don't necessarily look the most appropriate at night when everything's lit up and you've got that bit of, spray going on from the palm trees.
Phoenix too.
Yeah. Two very different extremes. Both books are poly, both books are fated mates, but they take place in very different locations with very different customs. Growing up on the island, my favorite thing at Christmas was rip all the paper off the presents, grab my toys for the beach, and get to the water, which is pretty much what my characters do in Six Stinger Stinging, which is also a tentacles book. So we get to have fun with tentacles and holidays in that one. And in Leo and Lace, you get 2 snow leopards who accidentally get mistaken for stuffed animals at the beginning of the story, and the poor human who was like, those are so cute, I'm going to leave them on the bed, I'm going to sleep with them, they're so adorable, and reaches out and kind of boops one on the snoot, only to have its eye crack open, and my poor human does suffer a fainting spell at some point in that scene where he finally meets the snow leopards.
He got the vapors.
He really did.
All right, Alma, what world are we stepping into this time?
All right, this is where it gets complicated. I have spent the last couple of years not writing very much at all because reasons, and I'm just getting my feet wet again with a massive project of a historical novel, historical fantasy kind of, well, it turns it out to be a trilogy, so I'm kind of slowly making my way into that when all of a sudden I was ambushed by something entirely different. And I ended up writing sort of fairly lush lyrical portraits of the 4 cardinal winds. And the 4 cardinal winds then decided that they each had a story attached to them. What turned out next was this. It's called The Wind's 4 Quarters, and basically what it is, it's either a fractured novella or a very short themed collection of 4 short stories which are linked together by coming from different directions where the wind is blowing. And the settings are fairly different, but they include a fairly unforgiving mountain on which you can only tell the truth. And I don't know if you can see this at all, but on the cover of this, can you see the image?
Mm-hmm.
I despaired of finding the right image of the compass rose that I wanted, so I sat down and embroidered one. So the cover is also kind of me. So this entire thing, like I said, it was a bit of an ambush project, and it just turned up. The winds blew in, literally, blew the stories into the corners. I had to write those down. From concept to this, it was less than 6 months. It just happened, and it's out in the world now. It emerged from its chrysalis on the 4th of November, so it's available for purchase right now at all the usual suspects.
So let's talk a little bit more about who, because that's really what we're always wanting to dive into with the stories are who do we get to go along on the ride with? Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? Who's got the tentacles? So as we look at going on the ride for the story, it's always about who, because that's how we get to go for it. So Ken, who are we taking along for the ride on this particular one? And you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I had my cats growling at each other. I didn't want you guys to have to hear that.
It's okay. Tonight is a cat house all the way around, apparently.
Yes, it is. So, but we pick up with Ian again. He's made his way to Santa Fe at this point, and he's dealing with a new set of kobolds, which in my world, the kobolds are full, regular size human size, not the itty bitty ones. And we learn that they like a good barbecue too. The only difference is they like their human version of that instead of cows. So we get Ian and his troop to go into Santa Fe looking for an old friend of his, and the city winds up burning down. That seems to happen a lot with him. I don't know why. It just things tend to not survive when he goes into town. So, but yeah, it's just Ian's the main character throughout the most of the book. There are some side stories that are out there, but this one deals with Ian and going into Santa Fe and taking care of all that. And they go into the big thing about this particular book it's called Slaughterfest. They hold a special broadcast event that's held in a dungeon. That's in this case, it's supposed to be impossible. So that's going to be fun, and lots of people die as usual. So that's about it for me.
Jenny, who are we going for the ride on in these Alien Kitty Cat series?
Well, like I said, the mastermind is out. He has launched a bioweapon that is going to take out half the population if it's left unchecked. Kitty, before they know this, though, the Planetary Council from Alpha, the Alpha Centauri system, has dropped in for a visit. At this point in the book, Kitty's alien husband, Jeff Martini, is the vice president of the United States. So they're going down president to vice president and their entourage, and Kitty runs with a big entourage, are going down in the trains, which I hadn't known the presidents had until I met someone who actually worked on them. And so it was very exciting to do that. It's a lot more, Rail Force 2 and 1 and 2 are much more fun to do than Air Force 1 or 2, because there's just more you can do with it when it's on the rails. And we've got, basically, I look at all of the books as like book 11, I said was Kitty Carter of Mars. This is Runaway Train crossed with Contagion. And it's very tense. When they figure out what's going on, there is no cure. And they have to try to figure out who to stop, how to stop. There's no cure. How do we make a cure? How do we stay alive while we're doing all of this? And there's a lot of plot threads from earlier books that are coming. They've been kind of out there, and they're going to come in together on this and absolutely tie up. Not everything, because this series is going till at least 21 books. So not every plot thread is tied up, but a lot of them are. And so it's kind of an action-packed ride pretty much all the way through. So that's Alien in Chief. And the Alien Collection, you're getting short stories from different characters in the series' point of view. So you get some origin stories in there. You're going to get some within the books and between the books stories. You get the 3 stories that kind of started the steampunk alien side, which books 17 and 18 actually happen in the steampunk universe. So those are important, and more things besides. But it's basically all the Kittyverse all the time. And the Alien Collection is a great companion book to all the others in Alien Chief. Like I said, it's pretty much a thrill ride the whole way through.
I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed in something there.
Uh-huh.
Just working into Air Force, Rail Force 1 and Rail Force 2 would be much better when it goes off the rails, knowing the usual story.
Well, don't worry, that'll happen. There's a giant amount of time they're on the train, and it is pretty much nonstop action while they're on the train. So, including running on top of it, and almost falling off, and some people falling off, and snakes falling on top of them. Kitty is terrified of snakes, so that adds a certain special touch of fun.
Oh, Indiana Jones, is it?
No, it's well, no, but because it's all on a train. Really, if you ever saw Runaway Train, it is that plus Contagion. It is Runaway Train was very taut. And
Snakes on a plane with Runaway Train.
Can't argue. So yeah. So anyway, it's a lot of it's the usual fun. Yes, some characters everybody loves, including me, die, but that's the nature of the business when you are 12 books into a series that's going to at least 21. Somebody gonna die. It just has to happen.
All right, Layla. So who are we venturing with in these couple of little romantic romps?
Well, in Leo and Lace, you've got Leo, who is a human. He has booked a holiday cabin, mostly because his dads are on a cruise. So there's not going to be a holiday at their house, and he's very unattached and very tired of his friends kind of hitting him up with all of their holiday woes that would really be solved if they would just kind of grow a backbone and tell people, no, you cannot bring XYZ person to the dinner party. That's my ex. So he's going to a place where he hopes the internet sucks and phone reception is awful, because he is trying to kick back, read, do a little bit of drawing and not have to deal with people. Unfortunately, this is a shared world series, so the theme is double booked for the holidays. So his cabin booked for 1 turns out to be a cabin booked for 3, because Maverick and Briar, who are best friends, have gone to escape the whole, when are you guys going to find your mates? Now, I say mates plural because their families are firmly convinced that they are not mates, while they are firmly convinced that, yeah, they are, but for some reason, they don't have their bond marks yet. Well, in snow leopard culture, you don't get your bond marks till you find everybody. And since they have a third mate, they don't get their bond marks till after one of them gets booped on the snoot, while he is, shifted and curled up, sleeping, napping on the bed. That kickstarts a wonderfully cozy, fun adventure, part at the cabin and part when they get home and do the meet the families thing and all of that. And then on the flip side, you have Six Stingers Stinging. Six Stingers Stinging is also part of a group project. It is the Tensils and Tentacles series, 3.0 actually. And my contribution, because I didn't want to do Krakens, I didn't want to do octopi. I wanted to find something that really hadn't shown up in the previous seasons, and I went jellyfish. So Kikoa is a jellyfish shifter. He has just moved to the island. He's kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to carpentry, building, anything to do with his hands. He's working on a restoration crew, and he stops at a bar kind of after work and doesn't have the greatest encounter with somebody that he works with at the pool table, because they kind of goaded and pushed him into playing. And he's kind of like me. He grew up with a pool table in the living room. He grew up hustling pool. He wrecks the guy in 2 turns, hasn't played in a little bit, so he didn't run the whole table on him, but it was daggone close. And afterwards, he ends up joking with these 2 guys he meets at the bar, Lainey and Nix, who their folks were military, and when they retired on the island, and those 2 who'd spent a good chunk of their childhoods there have got themselves a place. They live there. Nix is a party planner, which is fun. Or, I'm sorry, Lainey is a party planner, and Nix kind of refurbishes things in a different way, any kind of small electronics, splendor, etc. And they do have bond marks. They're just incomplete bond marks, because they too have been looking for their third. And guess what? Their third happens to be a jellyfish. Now, the fun part about this is, after doing some research and reading, Kikoa's had a lot of trouble finding romantic partners. It kind of sucks when you touch somebody and they, end up with red and itching and throwing up and passing out and in pain. So sea turtles are immune to jellyfish stings. He's got 2 sea turtle mates that he can have as much tentacular fun with as possible. And that's how their holiday is going. There's a lot of ocean. There's a lot of fun on the beach. And there is a little bit of issue from that initial run-in at the bar and the person that he had to deal with.
Alma, who are we going on the ride with?
First of all, I have to ask, how does this jellyfish weird thing work? I mean, this guy has got to be near water at all times. Otherwise, he's going to be changing once, and that'll be the end of him. He's going to be sort of flopping around on the ground doing nothing.
Yes, his shifting happens mostly at the beach. We do have a fun scene, though, where they have collected seawater, brought it home, and one mate is kind of dunking him in the water and putting him on their partner. So I had to get really creative with the tentacle massage in that scene, because there were definitely moments where the one had to put the other in the water.
TMI.
You asked.
Kinky.
She always has an answer, so remember that before you ask.
You did ask.
I did ask. I did bring the tentacles on myself, yes.
Did you?
As far as I'm concerned, how the hell do I follow that? I mean, these are 4...
Look, y'all should not have harassed me before we got started. That way you wouldn't be at the end.
Yeah, right. That's the last time I opened my big yap. I can't really answer that question, because a lot of people here have got kind of established worlds and everything's happening, but I've got these 4 distinct short stories, and if I tell you everything about the short stories, you're not going to want to read the book.
No, but I mean, who's a couple of your favorite characters, right? It's a little bit more about who are the favorite characters.
Well, first of all, you're going to meet the 4 wins, which is a sort of personality sketch of each win, which is, I suppose, something. And the first story, which is attached to the South Wind, is called The Lily of a Thousand Faces. And Lily is basically the South Wind's girl who is sent by the South Wind when the South Wind tries to fix things, and to teach people how to love again. And every now and again, things come to a head and everything kind of congeals to, something happens and everybody loses their Lily at once. And this particular story takes place in a bar where the bartender is Lily, but she's actually listening to all these guys who just come back from a memorial service for Lily, but they're all talking about a completely different person. They've all been to the same memorial service, but each guy's Lily is somebody else entirely. Like one of them said, "Oh, she was a real artist. She could draw like an angel." And none of them goes, "Lily, she can't draw a stick figure," kind of thing. So there's a fair amount of confusion going on there until things are cleared up. So I kind of enjoyed writing that character. At the end of that story, ow, damn it, no Velcro. At the end of that story, she basically comes to the end of that era, as it were, and she goes away until the South Wind creates something new. So there's that.
All right, Dennis.
Well, the one of the things that I mentioned was that I write a lot from the perspective of the aliens during the First Contact events. And two of my favorite characters are Daxi and Bongeeks. They're brothers. They're just about to come of age, and they are young hunters in their tribe. And their tribe comes into evidence of the humans who are trying to contact them. Now, the remains that they have, basically, it's decided that somebody needs to take the evidence all the way to the city and take it up to the scholars who are at the observatory and show them what's going on. There's no, quick communication method that anybody would believe anyway. Now, Bongeeks is the bold, the hunter who grabs the biggest hunt. He's the one who has the wanderlust. He wants to go places and see things. And Daxi is more, stay home, do the smaller game that he can get all the time, the more sure-footed one. And of course, their mother is the head of the tribe. And she decides that Daxi is the one who needs to go. And it basically because she's sure he'll come home. So we get to follow him as he goes across the continent, and he's never been out of his tribe. So he gets to go to small towns and villages across the great desert, where he gets hijacked and goes the wrong direction. But that's, more of the story. And he has to deal with all of these different things and learn about his own world at the same time. And I really enjoyed writing him, especially when his buddy, the red and black guy here, showed up. They make quite a pair. Meanwhile, for the humans, the ship that's arrived actually launched at the very beginning of book 4 of the first series. So there are some returning characters from that. And this is, you catch up with them as they're about to fail their third attempt. And the Pang-Yu, with a new kind of engine that only took them 1 year to get here instead of 7, they arrive with news, reinforcements, and let them know about the war. The Endurance was put together before the war happened by multiple corporations who didn't like each other and didn't trust each other. Now that news of the war and who won the war and who lost the war comes, not everybody on the Endurance is happy about the outcome. Against this backdrop, you have Brenna, who is now chief engineer on the Pang-Yu. And she has some history. This is the one with the most continuing story from the first series. She's there to meet the guy who saved her life years ago, to see if there's anything there. You have Ted and his wife are also returning characters, but theirs is more a story of what do we do now? His wife, basically 2/3 of humanity want to crown her empress, and the other third wants to kill her quickly. And of that 2/3 that want her, a lot of the leadership are kind of afraid she might. So there's all the political, they're just running away, trying to get away. And then you have a character who is introduced in a virtual world, Radinka Stormbringer. She's a green-haired pirate lady who takes over a covert operation that was implanted by one of the corporations to basically gum up the works. And now that they know what's happened, they're more motivated, and there's competing missions, and you don't know who they are because you only see them in the virtual. And then there's the story that's the heart-wrenching story I write about Maxim. Maxim's girlfriend is right there on Daxie's back, which he got to see that happen. He got to see the brutality of what happened to her, and he wants to kill anything that looks like them. He's angry, he's grieving, he's emotionally distraught. And then when they retrieve the shuttle that she was on, guess who's on board? Fundak, one of the hunters who has now gone missing from the tribe, accidentally got into the shuttle just as they decided to close it up and bring it back home. And so you get to see a first contact from his point of view and what he experiences. And everybody seems to be fairly nice until he meets Maxim. So, yeah, I got a lot going on, and there's other viewpoint characters that I'm just not really talking about because I've got quite a few in this one. It's an ensemble novel, and I had a great time writing it.
So, one of the fun things in terms of writing and creating and building story and really trying to make characters come to life is the various ways we have fun tormenting them. Sorry, torturing. No, that's not the right word. Providing them experiences. Let's go with that phrase. And one of the most fun things to play with is figuring out how do you do things that bring them to life. And often it's, what are those little personality quirks we give them? What are the little twists we give them? What's the thing that makes them feel a little more alive, a little bit more unique? So, Jenny, across your characters, who's one of them and what's one of their, shall we call them, personality influences that is a personal favorite?
Well, it'd have to be Kitty, number one. And number two, I think the thing that people really like about her, well, she's quirky, she's fun, she's into popular culture, comics, rock and roll. She likes all of that stuff. But she just refuses. She gets knocked down and she gets back up again, and she refuses, and Jimmy refuses to bend the knee to anybody. She manages to remain scrappy and unintimidated against forces that are so powerful that most people would read. And I think that she's the Tom Petty song. She won't back down ever. Because she's protecting people. She's protecting the people she loves, and she's protecting innocence. And if you're the person trying to attack that, she will not give up. She will not back down. And I think that's what people like about her. Like I said, she's quirky. In one of the interviews I think I did that's in the Alien collection, it's like I don't think she's so far outside of the box. I don't think she knows that there is a box. She doesn't do what just anyone would do. She does what she would do, and she's very sarcastic, and that makes her also very funny. So she'll quip while she's kicking you in the tenders, and then laugh about it if she has to. She will kill people if she has to. She doesn't do it for fun. But when you realize that people are trying to kill you and it is them or us, she always prefers that it's them. So I think that's why. And are we going to have another questioning round? Because I have something I want to say.
Go ahead. Go ahead and say what you want to say.
Okay. Wow. I'm so excited. The Alien Collection went on pre-order a day ago, and it's fucking already #1 in the short story category on Amazon. I'm so excited. This is sold yet. First day of pre-order, #1. So very excited. #1 bestseller. So
Excellent.
I have to share.
Congratulations.
So Layla.
Well, Kikoa in Six Stingers was so much fun because they are gender fluid, they are snarky, they are sassy, and you see it right in the beginning. They didn't even want to play pool. The person they work with is annoying at work. They're a braggart. They're very arrogant, and that's something that Kikoa is not fond of. So after they beat him at the table and start to walk away, there's this moment where the other character, Nuno, the coworker, asks for a rematch, and they decline. And Nuno grabs their wrist, and there's just an eye-rolling moment where he's just like 5, 4, they're like mentally counting down, because down the guy goes. It's a sweaty bar, so the toxins are in his skin, or in their skin, and he's just like watching this idiot, which is the best way to describe Nuno, hit the ground. And now it's become a whole thing because he hits his head. It's a big mess where EMTs have to come in, and Kikoa's just standing there like, can't even go to the bar and enjoy, myself at the bar. And on the flip side, with Leo and Lace, you have Maverick and Briar, who run a cookie shop, and they work together, they live together, and they have a big, boisterous, family of siblings, and the grandmother and the great-grandmother are hilarious. And so we talked a little bit about Leo's unfortunate meeting with the ground. Leo's unfortunate meeting with the ground is not the only meeting with the ground that takes place. When the great-grandmother very proudly and teasingly gives oh my goodness, Briar a bit of a hard time about knocking up both of his mates at the same time, he hadn't realized that they were pregnant yet, and he promptly hits the ground. So they start keeping a scorecard, and it basically becomes nobody else, neither Leo nor Briar, can faint again because Maverick hasn't. And until he does, none of them want to be, down 2-0 in this whole fainting scorecard they've got going on. So there's hilarity in both books. And I had an absolute blast writing both of them. And both of them were mostly written from my best friend's pool when I was out in Arizona.
Well, that explains the need for the water. So hopefully it was a saltwater pool. So Alma, what's something that brings some of your characters to life?
Look, I really have to come back here when I have something like a novel so I can talk about things in more detail. It's really hard to do things with short stories and not give away the plot of the whole thing. But let me just say that in one of the stories, there's one character who's a POV character who's basically figuring out that something is badly wrong with him, because he's usually very straight-laced and planned, and it's like it's 10:02 in the morning, and I should be at my latte stand and get my latte, and then I take 5 minutes to walk into the office building, and he knows exactly how long things take, where he's going, how he's going to get there. He's very, very meticulous in his life. And now he's finding himself sitting there slouched on a park bench with his hands in the pockets of his jeans and basically just oozing off the bench, not really caring what the time is and what's going on. And something's clearly very wrong because he's not the same person that he knows himself to be. And basically he's not the same person that his partner has just left because of the way that he was. He's like, his regimented lifestyle was just not something she could handle. But all of a sudden now he's very like, it's all okay, things are going. Something's very wrong. And that's about as much as I can tell you before I reveal the kicker in the story. But that's what tells him that something's changed. And it's amazing how vivid that character was, or to me, in the space of a short story that's literally less than 3,000 words. 3,000 odd words at this point. But he just came stepping out of the page and generally being alive.
So, Dennis, what's one of the more fun personality quirks you've got going?
Well, you asked about the torture. I'm like, Maxim, man, I torture the crap out of him. He gets to watch as his girlfriend gets barbecued. But the one who repeatedly is struggling and faces obstacles at every turn is Daxi. Here he is lugging this evidence of alien creatures invading his world. And he just roadblock after roadblock. At one point, he's hijacked and goes in the wrong direction, skipping a vital place that he needs to go to first, and ends up not being able to continue because he skipped that. And how that deadlock is resolved was a lot of fun for me to write. But he has the hardest time, and I think his brother has a bit of a hard time too, but it's more of a, oh my God, you're kidding me kind of thing, because he is the last hunter of a community that normally has 4 hunters, 2 big ones, and then he's one of the junior hunters. There's 1 junior hunter left. He has to teach others to hunt. And of all the children that they give him to train, the only one who's actually going to work out is his sister. Now, in this society, the females don't hunt because by the time they're old enough to learn, they're so much bigger, you don't want them stomping around the woods, scaring off the game. But she's very young, so she's not quite as big. And the relationship between the two is it's fraught with some tension there because Bongeeks doesn't think it's going to work.
All right, Ken.
So for me, it's Biff. Biff Gnarly. So he is the bane of the main character's, Ian's, existence because Ian hates puns. And with Biff being a bard, he kind of specializes in puns. And his second specialty is the fact that he can only sing disco, but the female lead, with a bad New York accent. So this is like the bane of Ian's existence. And on top of that, he has signed Ian up for his CrossFit classes because he is a CrossFit for life kind of guy. So, which is, he's adapted into parkour and has made Ian join his class with matching t-shirts And so between the dad jokes, the puns, and the disco, it is just, he suffers.
That
So
is an apocalypse. That is an apocalypse right there.
that is his worst nightmare. He would rather just deal with the apocalypse with no naps than ever deal with Biff. And so the great thing about the next book after Slaughterfest is it's called The Altar of Steel, and that's where we get to meet Biff's parents. And they are fun. So we got a surfer hippie dude, that's the dad, and we've got mom, who is a straight-laced businesswoman, and they're also drug dealers. So that he doesn't know about, and he grew up in a commune, and he never knew that. Yeah, so Biff is a whole lot of special.
Well, it sounds like we've got everybody ready to stack up those to be read piles. But before we get out of here, let's make sure everybody knows where to find you guys. Website, social media, and of course, remind them what the books are. So, Dennis, you're up first.
All right. AutomatedEmpire.com is where you can find links to everything, including, cups and t-shirts if you want those. All of my books are available on Amazon. The newest book, Secret of the Ombax, just came out late last month. And I'm working on an Indiegogo campaign to fund my next book, Murder on a Monochrome World. So come find me, check it out.
Ken?
You can find me at kenlangauthor.com. Most of your bookstores, if not all of them. I actually think I have some stuff with TeePublic too. But yeah, that's pretty much everywhere you can find me. All my social media is Ken Lang Author or Ken Lang. Always remember it has the E at the end of Lang. Otherwise, you get a guy who writes murder mysteries. That's not me. We both kill people, but in very different ways. So,
Jenny?
JennyKoch.com. If you want to join my free newsletter, Hook Me Up, you can do so from the bottom of most of the pages of that website. I'm all over Facebook, on X, Twitter, Blue Sky, and Pinterest. And my most current releases are Alien Chief, which just re-released today, and the Alien Collection, which is on pre-order and is releasing December 2nd. So please go grab them.
Layla?
Find me at Layla Dorine Author at Wix.com, Rainbow Lyrics and Mellow Mushrooms. I'm on Facebook a little too much. Occasionally I'm on Insta and a little TikTok too. Six Stingers Stinging will be out in 6 days on November 17th. And Leo and Lace will be out on December 3rd.
Alma?
I'm on almalexander.org, not .com, .org, where you'll find links to all kinds of other places. Like everyone else, I'm on Facebook way too much, spouting my mouth off about way too many things. I'm on Blue Sky. I don't do things like Instagram so much. So basically, my two main socials right now are Facebook and Blue Sky. So that's where you can find me, and on my website and the blog. And I've got a Patreon as well, if anybody cares to go that way. And the latest book again is The Wind's Four Quarters, with an embroidered cover. They're currently available at all the usual suspects. And I might just add that I just found myself having to replace my front door, which is not cheap. So please go out and buy the book.
And you can find me at jamespnettles.com, authoressentialsworkshops.com, creatingpros.com, and of course here at ConTinual. And go stack up those to be read piles. We'll see you again soon. Those holidays are coming. And I'm certain most everybody here will be happy to ship signed books.
Yep.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.